Folks, the Saints are marching in. Let the Saints, let the Saints, let the Saints come to get their asses kicked at Highmark Stadium on Sunday at 1 o'clock. I'm just kidding. More than likely. The spread is at 16 and a half points. Now, I hate spreads like that because they typically give me a bad gut feeling. And I'm confident that this Buffalo Bills team is going to win. I'm confident that they are going to cover the spread as well. But that doesn't mean that we cannot unpack everything we need to know about this New Orleans Saints team. Look at the 3 games they've played so far this season and also identify some key matchups that I think are going to be needle movers, measuring sticks on how we can go out there and really dominate. I think all of us expect the Buffalo Bills to win. Vast majority of the country expects the Buffalo Bills to win. I think what I'm looking for in this game is for us to address some of the things that haven't particularly been going well with our organization. Third down defense, for example. Right now, we're 23rd in the league. Terrible. Worst run defense in the NFL. Now, I'm not going to buy too much into that because, folks, I do believe that a lot of those are anomalies. Of course, you have Derrick Henry going off on week 1, so that probably skewed the statistics a bit. I'm not going to be reading too much into it, but I still think that it's appropriate to bring up. And rather than me going out and looking for a win, I'm expecting a win, but more importantly, I'm expecting us to show some shed of light in some of the things that we have been struggling with. And that includes third down defense, that includes run defense, that includes red zone defense, that includes actually sacking the quarterback as well. So that's what I'm looking for. A all-in-all quality performance, a dominant and convincing win against the team that Buffalo should ultimately end up defeating, arguably with ease. Very excited to dive into this live preview and prediction. Folks, as you're coming in, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up sign for me. Subscribe and turn on bell notifications as well. I know a lot of you guys tune in to the replay of these episodes. I would love to have you here live. And how you can catch me live is, number one, knowing that I'm live Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. EST each and every single day. And more importantly, make sure you have those bell notifications turned on because we have a wonderful live chat community in here. I make them a part of our overall daily conversations. So come on in. And anybody that's joining the live for the first time, please introduce yourself. Welcome to the damn family. Guys, I'm nosy. I want to know how far Bills Mafia truly extends. What corner of the United States are you tuning in from? Let's unpack. Do not be shy. I'm talking to the lurkers as well. Lurkers, where are you tuning in from? Let's get down into business. We need to give a couple of shout outs here to some of our proud partners of the season. You're already familiar with way too many of these guys, but for good reason. Starting off with our good friend, William Matar. Folks, if you are ever hurt in a car, you got to call William Matar. Number 1 car accident attorney in the state of New York. The phone number is on the screen, and just be careful driving out there, folks, right? Because we want to avoid car accidents. Unfortunately, they happen. And if you ever suffer an injury from said car accident, you have to make sure you have somebody in your corner. And look no further than our good friend, William Matar, man. Solid guy and even better lawyer, all right? Solid lawyer, even better guy. That's what I meant. Shout out to William Matar for being number 1 car accident attorney in the state of New York. I also need to give a shout out to Sleeper Picks, folks. I've been trying to cook up a parlay for the Buffalo Bills and the New Orleans Saints. I've mentioned before that the Bills' run defense is a bit suspect. So kind of thinking that Alvin Kamara might have himself a day against the Bills' defense. I'm also liking Josh Allen's passing yards. I'm liking James Cook to have the 4th game in a row where he cracks 100 yards on the ground. Damn, I would have paid him $20 million. Ha. However, guys, go on ahead and check out Sleeper Picks, number 1 player prop platform on the market today. They're matching 100% of your first deposit all the way up to $100. Basically free money once you put down your first deposit to play around with. Very simple process. Just pick anywhere between 2 to 6 players. You can see returns of up to 1,000x. Shout out to our good friends, Sleeper, for being a proud partner of today's show. I need to go on ahead and start taking a look at this New Orleans Saints team, man. What should we expect from the boys down in New Orleans? Several people are assuming that they are fighting for the number 1 first overall pick in next year's draft, but that doesn't mean that they can't shock the world. 0.5% chance it happens, folks. Let's see what they are all about. Guys, do me a favor, roll call in the chat right now, lurkers included. Where are you tuning in from? Sean is in the building. What's up, Dan? Sean, what's going on, my friend? I hope all is well with you. Go Bills. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Linda Jackson, what's going on? Bills will win by at least 21. We have Jimmy thinking that we are going to beat the spread as well, cover the spread. I hope so, man. I hope so. Dan, I'm challenging Lowski to a fan-based boxing match. I'm so sick of his yelling of nonsense. Go Bills. Kyle, 941. He's trying to lock up a boxing match with King Lowski. That is interesting. Chicago is in the building. Baltimore, Palm Coast, Florida, New York, Semponius. Joe, what is going on, man? Hope all is well. Port Charlotte, Florida is in the building. Chattanooga, Tennessee. Let's go. We got 2 Chattanooga in the building. Dawson and Spidey Mine. I wonder if you guys vibe like on the weekend. Same town, chilling. Brockport, New York is in the building. I have a question, Dan. If Ray Davis struggles continue, would you consider putting him on the practice squad and letting Gore Jr. have an opportunity? Why or why not? I think that Frank Gore Jr. just lacks size, right? I don't know if his skill set would translate into a 53-man roster. I think there's a reason why Ray Davis is still here. Ray does at least have the physicality. Ray hasn't really had a lot of opportunities. I think with us paying James Cook this offseason, sounds like the front office was just like, all right, dude, you're going to have to be out there on third down way more often than you were. I wouldn't give up on Ray Davis just yet. Like Frank Gore Jr., like the story, like the fact that he's related to one of the best to ever do it. But at the end of the day, he's small. North Korea is in the building. Jersey J. Wow, dude. Holy hell. Be careful out there. Florida is in the building. Cook rushes for 100 on Sunday. Bright and sunny South Florida. Corey Sampson is in the building. Go Bills from Kansas. Going to my first home game November 2nd against Kansas City. Go Bills. Corey, have a wonderful time, man. Hopefully, we walk away with a big fat dub. Salem, Virginia is in the building. Originally from Olean, New York, but a Bills fan since 1992. Now in North Carolina. Go Bills. Joey Gonzalez. Dan, just wondering, do you watch any of the Ryder Cup? I love seeing that competition. Dude, you know what, man? I golf on the weekends, surprisingly enough, like on Saturdays, like here and there. Not really into watching golf. However, sounds like I got to get into it. Arizona Cardinals fan here, hoping for a hot take on the Sea Chickens tonight as well. They definitely look good right now. Arizona Cardinals guy, man. Thursday night football. It's going to be an NFC West showdown right here. Unfortunately, I have the Sea Chickens winning, Robert. I really do. Don't hate me for it. I will be so happy for you if I am wrong. I just like how the Seahawks match up, particularly against the Arizona Cardinals defense. Don't trust Kyler Murray. I don't think him and Marvin Harrison Jr. really have a lot of chemistry. I think that it's been proven for the past couple of weeks, but I'm happy to be wrong, especially for your sake, Rob. Good morning, Dan. Stody, New York in the house, going to the game Sunday. I cannot wait. Winter Haven, Florida. Carly's in the building. Go Bills. Albuquerque, 716. Hornell, New York. Damn, baby. We're ready to get into it. All right. Let's unpack this New Orleans Saints team. It's pretty clear that this team is likely one of the favorites for being the first overall pick in the NFL draft. Not really much of a surprise to anybody. They've been in cap hell for a long time. Brand new head coach. I think Kellen Moore truly doesn't have the pieces that he wants to have to build his system that he is envisioning. However, I will give it to them, barring the shellacking from the Seattle Seahawks last week, this team actually played their competition relatively close. So I kind of want to take a look at the box scores for the first 2 games, including the previous one, because that also tells the story. And then we'll transition into where they rank league-wide on some more advanced metrics. And then we'll end up looking into PFF grades. We'll look into Spencer Rat-a-tat-tat, who's going to be going up against us, as well as my buddy Richie and I refer to him as. And let's just dive in. Let's just dive in here, folks. So they lost to the Cardinals at home. And granted, you'll see them play two very close games at home, decided by less than a touchdown. I think a lot of us going into the season were anticipating the Saints to be blown out just about every single game, right? 10-point differential. But I got to give it to them. They did keep it close for the first 2 weeks. Are the Arizona Cardinals around the Buffalo Bills like level? No, but it's still something to look out for. So when they played the Cardinals, we can go ahead and take a look at what it was. Spencer Rattler. And so a lot of Saints fans, I believe, are still kind of confused why they didn't roll with Tyler Shough. I don't think that there would be much of an improvement, and we're going to realize that a bit later as we get deeper into this preview. But he went 27 for 46, 214 yards. You had Alvin Kamara go for 11 carries, 45 yards, 4.1 yards per carry, and a touchdown. Sounds like it's really an Alvin Kamara type offense. Like it runs through him. You have a Kendre Miller. You have Devin Neal, who came out of Kansas last year as well. But predominantly based off of the first game and even into the previous two, it is Alvin Kamara all day. They're tight end, which is interesting. We all think about Chris Olave, who had himself a game there as well. Shaheed, you have Brandon Cooks. I think what we're seeing here and what we can anticipate is we're not really going to be seeing a favorite weapon be targeted on Sunday. Would I put them in the same category as an everybody eats type offense as the Buffalo Bills? They certainly don't run it as efficiently, although I think that we can all agree weapons-wise, I think that they certainly have the edge on the Buffalo Bills on the offensive side of the football. But a very well-balanced offensive strategy as far as targets were concerned in the air. And then going into the defense, Pete Werner with a sack. You had Cameron Jordan, 1.5 sacks. You had Alante Taylor, who's going to be a guy to be looking out for, and then 0 turnovers from this game. Ultimately, the Saints ended up losing, 20-13 here. Moving on to the following game, where they ended up playing the 49ers. The Mac Jones-led 49ers. Again, we see the New Orleans Saints at home, mind you, home field advantage, held the San Francisco 49ers to less than a touchdown. They started off 0-2. What did these players look like? Look at that. 3 touchdowns for the boy, Spencer Rattler. I got to tell you, too, somewhat impressive. I know they lost. I know Saints fans hate Spencer Rattler. They want Tyler Shough, right? Not a bad performance, especially against a defense like San Francisco. I can tell you what, say whatever you want about the San Francisco 49ers. I think they're a playoff team, right? Maybe because of their schedule is easy as hell, or it's their defense. Solid defense over in San Francisco, right? Throwing 3 touchdowns, 25 for 34, 207 yards. This was a hell of a performance from the second season signal caller. Again, like we said, another trend. Alvin Kamara, 21 carries, 99 yards, 4.7 yards on average. Folks, we oftentimes say that the Buffalo Bills have a third down problem. We do, right? So many times we see quarterbacks convert a 3rd and 9, a 3rd and 12, a 3rd and 13. Like the Bills' run defense has not been good. The Bills' third down defense has not been good. How I think that we could solve this, don't be giving them as many favorable opportunities in first and second down offense. Like this team hasn't scored on an opening drive all season. Don't let them get good chunk yardage, especially in first and second downs. That's step number 1 for me to begin. Again, a relatively well-balanced passing attack. You had Olave, 6 receptions for 54. Shaheed, 4 for 52. You have Juwan Johnson, 5 for 49. They love Juwan Johnson over there, guys. They love Juwan Johnson over there. So watch out for him as the tight end. And then Cooks, who's also a player to watch out for. Not particularly a crazy game for him, but he's a journeyman across the league. Very talented wide receiver. Something to take a look at. And then on the defensive side of the football, Carl Granderson, 2 sacks. Chris Rumph at the end of the day. This team is getting pressure. This team is getting pressure. So something to be looking out for. And last but not least, we have to take a look at the beatdown in Seattle, because that is something I feel like can ruin a team's confidence, or they can bounce back and use it as fuel to come out and look better. I don't think Saints fans are looking for, if the Saints don't beat a Super Bowl contending team like the Buffalo Bills this weekend, then we're pissed off. I think the Saints are just looking for improvement. I feel like they're looking for improvement from a point differential such as this. Will they achieve it? That is a different conversation. Right here, saw Spencer Rattler, 28 for 39, 218 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Solid defense over there, right? Home field advantage was no longer a case for them, right? First away game, and they end up getting blown out by the Seattle Seahawks here, right? Again, have Alvin Kamara, folks. It's not running back by committee. That's who we're seeing. Only 2.3 yards per carry. So Seattle really ended up having an answer for not allowing them to get any ground in first and second down. Didn't really give them favorable field position in third down situations, something I hope Buffalo can do. Moving on, again, relatively well spread out. You have Chris Olave. He's probably going to be the guy. Again, Juwan Johnson. He's getting his targets. He's getting his targets, folks. So once we start unpacking exactly how I think this Buffalo Bills team needs to attack this squad, we have to look out for Juwan Johnson. How do the Bills take care of that? I think that's going to be a key of the game. Slow him down. Nobody talks about Johnson enough for the Saints. Shaheed, 4 receptions, 42 yards. Brandon Cooks, 3 for 24, so on and so forth. And with Kamara, only 1 reception. As far as defense, that was an absolute offensive line clinic that Seattle put out on the table. Nothing. 0 turnovers, and Seattle won the turnover battle, the whole 9. That's what we're expecting from this Saints team, at least considering last week. So based off of giving a conclusion of just 3 games out of the season with this New Orleans Saints squad, I can tell you, and this is obviously way too early, but this is all I have to go off of, is 3 games. Solid home team, struggles a tad when they are in enemy territory. They also are not a running back by committee. You're going to see a lot of Alvin Kamara for the first 2 games, average about 4.5, 4.7 yards per carry. Solid offensive line, too, as far as run blocking is concerned. Big dudes, human movers. With Buffalo's propensity of getting bullied occasionally on run blocking schemes, I could see a world where Alvin Kamara has himself a day. I could. That's something that I feel like we need to look out for. And so we go from there. And while we love ripping on Spencer Rattler, he's got 4 touchdowns and only 1 interception, 3 of which obviously came against the San Francisco 49ers, just 1 game exclusively. But for the most part, outside of a very ugly interception, he's taking care of the football, and for the most part. So something to think about. I'm never scared of any front with the offensive line that we have. Absolutely. And it's something that I feel like a lot of us should feel very, very good about. We will do what we did versus the Jets, just sell out the stop, the run, and let a bad quarterback beat himself. Kamara is old. He's still playing pretty damn good. He's aging like fine wine as far as what it plays out to be. But anyway, let's go on ahead and take a look at where this team ranks collectively as a team. I think that this is something we could be taking a look at here. So with the New Orleans Saints, we'll start off with the offensive side of the football, because we need to start putting together a defensive game plan against Spencer Rat-a-tat-tat and Alvin Kamara and Juwan Johnson, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Brandon Cooks. I mean, on paper, I feel like they're just missing a quarterback. I think that they could probably have a pretty solid offense if they had a top 15 guy, top 13 guy. I think this team would be a hell of a lot better. However, points per game, not getting into the end zone very often. 29th in the NFL. Only 15.7 points per game. Struggling in the red zone tremendously. Struggling getting to the red zone tremendously. Yards per game, 302. That's 19th in the league. Points per play, 0.228. 31st in the league. Yards per play, 4.4. Funny how that is so congruent. That is so relatable to Alvin Kamara's average yards per carry. Something to think about here. We have Emmett is coming in with a super chat here saying, if this isn't 100-0, I want Bobby Babich fired. Emmett has had enough of Bobby Babich. And then touchdowns per game, only 1.7. That is 26th in the league. Red zone scoring, 19th in the league. Third down conversion, 35%. Fourth down conversion, 33%. Here's the key of the game. Here's one key of the game for the Buffalo Bills defensive side of things against the Saints offense. We need to fix third down defense this week, Sunday. I'm not saying that it's fixed because you're looking at all the statistics I'm looking at. But if you're going to tell me that we are going to struggle on third down, last week, the Miami Dolphins converted 10 of 15 third down attempts. Week 1, much worse. If we cannot stop these guys on third down, if I see Spencer Rattler roll out there and convert more than 80%, more than 50% of his third down conversions, I am going to crash out. Bob behind me is going to get a beat down he can't even imagine. There is no excuse. I think it's too early to identify this Bills team as the same old third down defense as 2024. Because we played two anomalies, week 1 and week 3. Week 1, we ended up going up against Derrick Henry and the most highest scoring offense in the NFL. That is the Baltimore Ravens. Week 3, we went up against a QB, Tua, who's terrible. However, he gets rid of the football faster than anybody in the league. So us not being able to sack the guy, I'm not pissed off at it, right? Because while Buffalo was in top 10 in pressure on third down, it's true. We were top 10 in pressure on third down. Bottom of the league when it came into sacks. I think a lot of that has to do with the type of players that we were playing. But I think this is an opportunity to make me walk away from this game and feel a little more confident in what we can do. Get to the quarterback. Don't allow third and long conversions. If it's 3rd and 6, I better not see them convert. 3rd and 6 or more, I better not see them convert. Maybe I'm being a little bit too harsh, but I feel like we got to see that. I feel like we have to see this. Rushing statistics, surprisingly enough, it's a Kamara-type offense. Is he dynamic? For sure. But he did end up playing the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. While in San Francisco, he did put up 99 yards. I think it's too early to identify this team as being incapable of stopping the run. I do. I genuinely do. He's only had one good game so far. Last week, he struggled with the Seattle Seahawks run defense. Week 1, and so against the Arizona Cardinals, still about 4.7 yards per carry. So I'm not reading too much into this, but might as well still discuss it. Yards per rush, 3.9. Rushes per game, 26.3. Yards per game, 102.3 on the ground. That's how it is. Passing statistics. They throw the football a lot. Top 10 in the league for pass play percentage. Now, is this because they are often down and they need to throw the football? I think perhaps last week may have skewed this stat as well because the Seattle Seahawks never looked back. It was the craziest. In fact, I did read this earlier. Last week against Seattle, they had the largest point differential at the half since 2005. Like, it was belt to ass. Belt to ass. So no wonder they are in the top 10 of pass play percentage because they needed to be. And so you can't utilize the run game when you're down by 20 in the beginning of the second quarter. So that makes a little bit of sense to me here. So completion percentage is at about 66.12%. Yards per play, 5.3. 30th in the NFL, right? 30th. What can you do? Passes per game, 40.3 at 3. Pass yards per game, 199.7. That's 18th in the league. Interceptions thrown, 7th in the league, and quarterback sack, 12th in the league. 4.72% of each and every single snap falls with Spencer Rattler on his booty. Get to the damn quarterback. Get to the damn quarterback. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and transition over to something I think you guys are interested in seeing. Because what runs an offense, folks, right? It's scheme, coaching, but it all starts with the QB, Spencer Rattler, South Carolina. He started off his football career in college in Oklahoma, to where he got a slight injury. Caleb Williams took over and never looked back. He transferred to South Carolina, looked a little better. Yeah, looked a little better. Somebody wants me to knock out Bob. I will. And so I offer you guys one Bob knockout per episode. That much I can tell you. But let's go on ahead and take a look at exactly what kind of QB he is. Most specifically, I want to get what he is like in regular box stats, but then more importantly, I want to be able to look at how long he holds on to the football, what he is like with pressure, what he is like against the blitz, what he is like in play action. We're going to unpack all of this. All I ask right now, folks, if you are just tuning in, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up sign. Where it stands, there's 246 of you watching me in total. 162 are on YouTube, 68 are on X. Guys, I want to grow this live chat community as much as humanly possible. How we do that? If there's 162 of you here on YouTube, there has to be 162 like buttons smashed right now. Let's go ahead and knock that out and make it happen. All right. Following this, let's take a look at who he is as a quarterback from very surface level measuring. From here, he is 100. He is 80 for 119. That's good enough for a 67.2% completion percentage. 639 yards per average 5.4. That's amongst one of the lowest in the league, by the way. One of the lowest in the league for yards per attempt. 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Big time throws is always interesting to me. He's not really stretching the field too often. Not many quarterbacks are nowadays, right? It's the short game. It's passes behind the line of scrimmage. It's just how it is, right? Moving on. You have turnover-worthy plays. This is big. 8 of them. I know that when you look at his box score, like you'll see, oh, he's only thrown 1 interception. Last week's interception, gross. Perhaps one of the ugliest ones I've seen in a long time. But 8 turnover-worthy plays, meaning he got lucky 7 times. You were going up against a Buffalo Bills team that, by the way, and this is a crazy stat, we have won the turnover battle. The past 24 games, that is an NFL record. We turn the ball over. We can be critical about the third down defense. So we can be critical about the run defense, the red zone D. But one thing that you cannot be critical of, we take the damn football away. I have a hot take that this Saints team coughs up the ball twice on Sunday. I think that's how it is. His average depth of target is sitting at 7.8 yards. Something to consider. His adjusted completion percentage is 74.3. He has 4 drops from right over here. And his average time to throw is 2.57 seconds. Average time to throw, 2.57 seconds. So we better get to his ass. And because that's holding on to the ball relatively long. Let's make it happen. Speaking of run defense, and do you still have respect for Alvin Kamara on the Saints team? Of course I do. He is a great player. Let me see. If all of us in here, why is it only 35 thumbs up? Bills fan, rally and hit the like button. It is easy. For sure, guys. Listen, 156 of you on YouTube, we need to pump this up. There has to be 156 like buttons hit. We got passing right here, folks. Let's go on ahead and take a look at some of the other key notions of what we need to understand about this QB as we are building a defensive game plan. So far, like I said, third down defense. They are 27th in the league right here. Let me double check. They are 26th in the league for third down conversions. cannot allow them to have any favorable matchups on third down. We have to make sure that we capitalize there. This is the defense to do it against. Let's take a look at passing concept because this is important. What kind of player is this guy? Play action, no play action, and then screens. Let's take a look. In play action, he runs 23.5% of his dropbacks are in play action. His completion percentage is 57.1%. That's odd. Most quarterbacks in play action, folks, are far more efficient than when play action is not instituted. Again, this is skewed, and so I do believe it's been only 3 games. But based off of those 3 games, Spencer Rattler is not particularly a play action kind of guy. Granted, they held Alvin Kamara to only about 11 carries last week because, like with the Seattle Seahawks, just took control of the game very early and really didn't have an opportunity in establishing this. But it sounds like play action is not about to be a part of their game plan. It could be wrong, but something to think about. Has 2 touchdowns. There you go. Followed by no play action. 70.3% completion percentage, 5.3 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. 76.5% of his dropbacks are not in play action. Now, again, is that what he prefers? Is that what Kellen Moore prefers? I mean, probably not. That's really not a good way to run your offense. But with how often that the New Orleans Saints were playing from behind, this makes sense to me. Something to think about there. Last but not least, let's talk about passing pressure. Say what you want about the Buffalo Bills. Maybe we're not leading the league in sacks or getting home, but damn, do we pressure the quarterback. We have been pressuring like nobody's business. We got to get home on the sack, though. Please, please, please get home on the damn sack. But kept clean. No pressure on the guy. 65.2% of his dropbacks, he is kept clean. 69.4% of his completion percentage when he is kept clean. 452 yards, 5.3 yards per average, 2 touchdowns. One thing I got to tell you about Spencer Rattler, and people were very prone into criticizing this young man, but I got to give it to him. He's not bad under pressure. Not bad under pressure. And he's better when he's blitzed. He's better when he's blitzed than when kept clean and or pressured. 34.8% of his dropbacks, he experienced pressure. Was 34 for 46. 61.8% was a completion. 187 yards, yards per attempt, 5.5, 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. When blitzed, 25.8% of his dropbacks, 70% completion percentage, 6.2 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown. It's not looking that bad. He's not looking that bad when he experiences pressure. So here's my next take. So here's my is my next key for the defense to go out there and dominate. I'd probably scale back on the blitzes. I don't think that we could really afford to bring somebody out of coverage to go after him. I'd probably scale back on the DB blitzes. Be strategic of when you use them. I don't think blitzing should be a part of the defensive game plan. If, for example, we take a crazy lead, go crazy, right? Send those Christian Benford DB blitzes, right? Like bring Bernard out of coverage if necessary. But toward the beginning of the game, until we end up getting a more clear lead, I'd probably just focus exclusively on 4-man rush. That's probably what I would do. Because we can criticize this young man, and granted, it's a small sample size, but what the data is telling me is that he's actually better when he's blitzed and when he is pressured. Some people are just wired that way. So something to consider. Something to consider. And let's go ahead and take a look at some matchups here, because we're talking about defense versus their offensive line, secondary versus their wide receivers. Let's pinpoint some matchups that I think are favorable. And I'll tell you what, I think it's a bit more even keeled than you're willing to admit. If, for example, Buffalo, and by the way, for some reason, they have been running quite a bit of 4-3, way more than they have before. Is Buffalo shifting their defensive identity? I suppose it's a conversation for a different time. But let's take a look at this. Dan, something I just found out today, but Spencer Rattler hasn't even won a single game in the NFL as a starting quarterback. I don't see how we lose this one. Neither do I. But it's not particularly something that I'm going to look at and say that I'm wanting a win, because and so I expect to win. And so I expect to win and cover the spread. But I want us to improve in some of the things that we have been struggling with for the past 3 games, especially against competition like this. That's what we're doing. We got Red Furnace is coming in saying still a trap game. It's definitely not a trap game. It's definitely not a trap game. This team hasn't had a trap game since Joe Brady has taken over, right? Like back in the day, I would agree with you that typically, like, we have a couple of games where it's like, oh, like, Buffalo, we're going to lose a game that we're not supposed to. I can't remember a game where we have lost to an absolute stinker, especially in 2024. And toward the back half of 2023, I can't remember a game where the Buffalo Bills have gone on ahead and lost to a team that we weren't supposed to lose to, where we had a bad game. I'd say all of our losses last year were against teams that I would not have been surprised if somebody were to tell me leading up into the matchup that we would have lost, right? So that's me. I don't think trap games exist for the Buffalo Bills. At least not this version of the Buffalo Bills. I haven't seen evidence of it yet, especially with this current coaching regime. But let's take a look. What are we going to be doing here? Who is going to be on who? We probably still have some injuries on this game, right? Matt Milano and Ed Oliver were not participating in practice yesterday. And that's even after the mini bye. So I think that makes things interesting. You have Tre'Davious White versus Rashid Shaheed. And guys, let me tell you, if I could give an identity to this Saints wide receiving room, it's speed. Speed. Fast dudes, dude. So with Shaheed is blazing. Same thing with Olave. And with Brandon Cooks, great route runner. So you're likely going to be seeing Benford. You'll probably be on Brandon Cooks. Maybe he travels a little bit, and maybe he ends up going on Shaheed for a tad. You have Chris Olave is going to be on Taron Johnson. I do like that matchup. I would like to see how that plays out for him. And then you have Tre'Davious White on Shaheed. My question here is, you have Juwan Johnson, who gets a lot of targets. And where PFF has us, and I don't think that Buffalo is going to go with this, because Dorian Williams is an absolute liability in coverage. If you go out there and we see the Buffalo Bills running nickel, and you see Dorian Williams out there, he's going to be targeted all day, and he's going to get cooked. So what do I want? I want Shaq Thompson here. Shaq Thompson and Bernard, to me, and that's only if Matt Milano can play. I'm not wanting to rush back Matt Milano. Is he injury prone? For sure. But when he's healthy, he's really good. That's the name of the game. He's not washed and injury prone. He's a great player, but he's injury prone. There is a difference. If Milano can play, you got to put Shaq Thompson out there. He's much better in coverage. He's just as good at run defense as Dorian Williams. Give me Shaq Thompson. Give me Bernard for the linebacker room. And hopefully Shaq Thompson would be able to run with Juwan Johnson, because he's going to get his targets. He's probably going to be an X factor for the Saints offense if they are able to establish any sort of a pulse. Something like that. Rapp and Cole Bishop in the past couple of games, so have been good outside of week 1. March down the field. what I'm thinking for this Bills defense is as far as physicality, speed versus our overall scheme. So the Saints have opportunities to win. So what I think I would like to see from this defense is mix up as many coverages as humanly possible. Confuse Spencer Rattler as much as you can. Like show pressure, bail on pressure, give him looks that he's never seen before in his entire life. I wouldn't particularly like to see a lot of man coverage, especially against this team. I wouldn't feel too good about it, to be completely honest with you. Not unless like we can win physically on the line against players like Olave and Shaheed. Do whatever we can to confuse Spencer Rattler, let him shoot himself in the foot, get pressure. Solid offensive line for the most part. You have Trevor Penning, a rookie, in 2022. He's back from there. You have Daquan Jones could be coming up, right? And he's coming off of an incredible game. Whether or not that it's Deion Walker, who's also been playing very well, and with TJ Sanders, he's going to have to be much better, right? It's the past couple of weeks, you see the defensive grade at 32.3, run defense 31.4, pass rush 48.1. Need to step up. Need to step up. Yeah. And so the Giants aren't great this year. Again, I think this is Dable's last season if they continue to underperform. According to Dr. Milano and Oliver are out. Yep. They are out of practice just now. It is not yet official, but say that we see a did not participate. But say that we see a do not participate from both of them today. More than likely, I think that they're going to be saved. It's just kind of how it is. All right. I am going to use the restroom real fast, folks, and then we are going to chop up this defense, what to expect from the New Orleans Saints defense, and carve a plan on how Buffalo can once again score 30 points. I'm arguing that we do with ease, perhaps even by the beginning of the third quarter. I'll be right back. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, folks. So let's go on ahead and let's take a look at this offense. Excuse me. So their defense. Let's take a look at what we can expect from this team. Points per game, 30. That is 25th in the league. The Buffalo Bills are averaging 30 points exactly per game. Wonderful. Yards per game, 313.3. That is 15th in the NFL. Points per play, 0.492 EPA. That is 27th in the NFL. Followed by yards per play, 5.1. They are giving up. Third down conversion, they are letting up 45.95% on third down conversions. If you think that the Buffalo Bills' third down defense is bad, the Saints are worse. So where Buffalo's 23rd, the Saints are at 27th. Something to think about right there. Red zone scoring, 80%. 80%, folks. And this is something that Buffalo does very, very well. Touchdowns per game, 3.3. 25th in the league. Run defense, 3.6 yards per carry. Something to think about there, right? Quality from the most part. Rushes per game, 24th in the NFL. Rush yards per game, 103.3. That is 15th in the league. And rush touchdowns per game, 0.7. So they're pretty good against the run. pretty good against the run. Again, this could be skewed because of all of the issues we're about to see within their secondary against the pass. However, I still think Buffalo can run against this team. We will unpack that once we start looking at their PFF grades, if you will. Moving down, we have passing statistics. You have completion percentage of 70.79%. It smells like a Josh Allen game. 7.6 yards per pass. It's 23rd rate in the NFL. Passes per game, 29.7. Pass yards per game, 210. Sack percentage. Top 10 in sacks. Something to think about. But then again, so they were going up against the Cardinals. They were going up against the banged up San Francisco 49ers line, and they got 0 sacks against the Seattle Seahawks. I think that we can all agree that we have a much better offensive line than all three of those guys, but this team has been getting pressure. Something to think about. We have the kicking stats at 21. The turnover differential, not really taking the football away. Not really taking the football away. In fact, they haven't taken the football away once all year. Something to think about. Something to think about. And as far as penalties, a pretty penalized team. Something to consider. Moving on. Let's go on ahead and see exactly what key matchups are going to be for the Buffalo Bills. Let's shift this over to defense. Shift this over to defense real fast. And this is what we have. We have Keon Coleman. He's likely going to be lined up against Kool-Aid McKinstry. Who remembers this guy? He was a very popular name going into the draft back in 2024. He's not been doing well. 49.7 coverage grade. Run defense is not too good. He's going to be going up against Coleman. Absolutely love this matchup. Love Khalil Shakir and versus Alontae Taylor. Keep in mind, this guy is sent quite a bit when it comes into pass rush. He's not very good at run defense. He's quality slot corner, though. Shakir versus Alontae Taylor, I think, is probably going to be a matchup we look at. Do we ultimately end up seeing Shakir winning this more often than not? I think that there's going to be other opportunities to eat here. I think this might be another game where Shakir is not really as much of a crazy factor in this game because that's probably the most favorable matchup, secondary speaking, from the Saints' perspective. Followed by Isaac Yiadom. He was drafted in 2018. Yes, I believe that this is a real player, but love this matchup with Palmer. Love this matchup with Palmer. And so I really think that he has an opportunity to eat as long as he ends up getting his targets. Followed by Dalton Kincaid. Talk about a baller. 13th in the NFL so far, 70.6 PFF grade. He's been playing a lot better from last year. He's getting way more physical, something we should all be excited about. What does this look like for him against these linebackers? A coverage grade of 39.5 for Pete Werner. Then Davis right here. Super quality player, but he's 36. He's 37 years old. Still pretty quality in coverage. So just go on ahead and just target Kincaid. I really think that we can target Werner here, and we'd be completely fine. I'm kind of curious to see what their base set looks like. You have 3-4 as well. You have Godchow. You have Devon Godchow. I had no idea he was on this team. Cam Jordan, 37 years old. Carl Granderson. Shepard's coming out here. And then Werner and Davis. Stanker and Reed. So how I look at this overall offensive attack plan. So I really think that you have to pick on the perimeter corners. And so I really, really do. Like you are going to see Alontae Taylor out there when they run nickel. But when they're running their base 3-4 set, I really think that you could dominate on these perimeter corners. Specifically when it comes into McKinstry, specifically when it comes into Alontae Taylor on the outside, if running nickel, I feel like we should be okay here. And so I feel like we should be okay. Like we're looking at a team, folks, that does things terribly that Buffalo does very well. right? Terrible third down conversion percentage, 45.95%. Terrible at red zone defense. Based off of how I'm looking at all of this, I think that Buffalo is actually going to stretch the ball downfield a little bit. I think there's opportunities to win deeper down the field with the safety room and the perimeter corners specifically. I think this is going to be a Keon Coleman game. I think this is going to be a Dalton Kincaid game. I think that Buffalo sleepwalks their way into 30 points. And I would not be surprised in the slightest if Buffalo has Josh Allen in a baseball cap by midway through the fourth quarter. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. Final score prediction for this game. Bills 32. And a bounce back performance for the Bills defense, 10. I genuinely believe that we are going to be seeing a much better performance from third down defense. And so I think that we are going to get pressure. I think we're going to get 2 turnovers. And I think this offense does not miss a beat. That is where I am at. An injury excuse, there is no injuries that concern me, and Rice is suspended, which would make the big difference. Mario, don't worry about his carries. It's irrelevant. He's young and he is able. Lucas is coming in. It's going to be a Keon Cole him game. I'm fine with some Keon action, man. Let's talk about that. Thanks for showing Bills PFF. No problem, man. It's a part of the formula of each and every single one of my previews. Either KC or Baltimore starts 1-3, which is, I mean, it's insane. We have DF for everything. Thank you, my friend. All right. Well, folks, that's going to have to do it for another edition of your favorite morning show of the Buffalo Bills. Guys, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up sign, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's the easiest way to show love over here. Yeah. And so I'll see you on 4th and Forever here in just a couple of hours. And I look forward to chopping it up. We'll see y'all soon. Peace.